Good afternoon and welcome back to this special edition of Falcon Focus. Our episode this week honors the life and legacy of Julian Sam, our beloved band director and food service manager. With me now to talk about Julian and the legacy he left at Simmons College of Kentucky is someone who worked with him for a long time, Miss Claudette Linder, who is our executive assistant to the executive vice presidents of Simmons College of Kentucky.
Correct.
And we also still have Rayah Finley, former student, and she also worked in the food service with Julian Sam in what we call it the Nest. So I'm going to start with you, Miss Claudette.
Okay, well, I worked with him when he first got there because I was there when Julian arrived. So the length of his employment with Simmons, and we developed a great friendship. He called me Mama Claudette, to no surprise. And we talked a lot because his office was originally in the administration and library building. Mm-hmm. So every day, if he didn't come, I'd be like, where are you? You didn't come and say hello to me this morning. So it really was a great relationship, and I have many, many fond memories of Julian.
Do you remember when he first started at Simmons, how he was introduced and how he came in?
Well, yeah, he actually was the founder of the band.
Okay.
Because he came and he started working on establishing a band, which he was a graduate of, attended Kentucky State, later graduating from Kentucky State, and I was alumni of Kentucky State also, so we had that in common. I remember him. He worked so hard in developing the band and then bringing on people such as Dr. Davenport and others, Mama Kay. So she's over the dancers, but they call it band auxiliary coordinator. So Julian wanted to make sure I got that right. That encompasses more. So she was extremely close to him, as well as Dr. Davenport. That band family. In fact, I've got a funny story. I went on a trip with them to Dallas. So I asked them, I said, can I ride the bus? He said, oh, yes, Miss Claudette, you can. So although he called me Mama and we were close, we were there in Dallas. I remember us going to have something to eat. But Dr. Davenport and Mama Kay, I teased him about it when he got back. I said, oh, y'all were in the band mode. Because y'all were all gathered together, talking about band, doing band, talking about the band students. You just left me to the side. He said, oh, I didn't mean to. I said, oh, you meant to. Y'all just in that band focus. And I wasn't a part of that. But no, as we know, he loved the band, and he did a lot to establish it and to develop it to where it is today. Yes.
So, Miss Claudette, can you talk a little bit about how he started in food service?
Well, you know what? I can say that this is truly, and it's accurate, a man of many talents.
Okay.
And he had worked in food service in college. He had worked in food service in other capacities at a hotel.
Okay.
So whenever I get ready to do setups, he said, now, Miss Claudette, if you just tell me what setup you need, I can make this book for you, and you can present it to people. And then you don't have to keep on drawing out these setups every time you do it.
That sounds like
so
Julian.
He was a man of many talents.
Now, Miss Claudette, you work with him in the pantry and the Nest?
Well, no, all I did for the Nest was just go and buy food.
Okay, so
I worked with him in the pantry.
Okay.
Actually, our pantry started with Dare to Care and then help from other churches, private donors. And Julian would help me. I said, oh, Miss Julian, I need to run to Sam's to get an order. Julian was always the one to take me. And then later on, someone else helped me with that. But he was the first to take me to Sam's, pick up items, and do that type of stuff. So he was always involved, even on the beginning of the pantry.
Now tell us what the pantry looks like now, because we've had a fun...
Don't embarrass me, behind. I told Julian, actually I had this conversation with Julian and Mama Kay. And I said, Mama Kay, let me just go and tell you the truth. That pantry, he has gone above and beyond. It would not have looked like that. I don't care how many years I coordinated those efforts. He took it to another level. He's got pictures. He took students down, and he said it meant so much to them. So he always had that student focus. I was like, we have the people to get the food in, the people to get the food out. We're going to follow the regulations and the rules. We're going to do the right paperwork, which I passed on to him. He even put that so that it wasn't hand and paper. He put it on so it's IT, and he took it to another level.
I think that was his gift.
He took it to another level,
and not just putting it together, but he enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And in fact, not his Simmons email address, but he had an email that said "Serving Others Matter," and it really fit him perfectly.
Serving others matter.
Yeah,
He was a humble.
Absolutely.
Humble, and he very active at his church as well.
He was.
Tell us more about how he did with the students when they needed food.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I told the students he spoiled them.
Okay.
And I worked a lot remotely during COVID. I'm back in the office now, but even then, he and Sandra would pack up food. I think he may have a few other volunteers, take it to the students. I mean, he was the greatest at delivering. He just was going to do what the student needed. And I told him, I said, he spoiled you all. He really did. But he was so student focused.
And because of his student focus, he also was SGA.
Yes.
SGA advisor to the students to focus on the students and their needs.
Again.
And he was working on coordination.
Yes, that's correct.
And he was big about pulling coordination together because I was the one he came to about money for the coordination. And I said, I need a budget.
Yes.
I always say I need a budget. And he was like, oh, just get as much. I said, you can't just get as much money. I need a budget. And you need to cut back on what you're spending. I know you won't have this vision, but you need a budget.
Yes.
And so he and I would bicker a little bit about that, but
understand,
lovingly,
yes, absolutely.
He was a force. We all knew at Simmons that he was intentionally focused on what's best for the students.
Absolutely.
So that leads me, Rayah, to the Nest. Tell us about the Nest and what the Nest actually is and what your part was at the Nest.
The Nest is a part of Stewart Hall, and it's like a small cafe for students to get hot food.
Yep.
It was really a good investment for the students because they don't have to go too far.
Right, and we're in a food desert. Simmons is in a food desert. Julian was really, really specific about how to do the Nest and how to get everything done, like the how do you have the not factory grade, but he wanted to have restaurant graded equipment, everything. The refrigerator, the dishwasher, everything had to be in code and everything meet the standards. So he was very, very big about that. And tell us what you did at the Nest.
At the Nest, I kind of helped the students figure out the menu, and I did the cashier and just served the students.
That's good. And we had all kinds of, Julian was big on having a hot grill.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because he wanted the students, because sometimes the students would only eat maybe one meal, and he wanted to keep it open later for the students at night. And he wanted to make sure, he was really, really big on creating an environment, an HBCU environment.
Absolutely.
He wanted to have music going, because you would come in, and he pushed the fact that he wanted faculty and staff to come and support the Nest, and we all did, as long as we could get a hot meal.
Absolutely.
And I would say to him, what drinks do you have? And he would never have unsweet tea. So we would always I was like, Julian, I need unsweet tea. I don't want sweet tea. So we would get into our conversations about, having unsweet tea. But he was really big on making sure the students had the right thing in the environment. So Rayah, how many people would you say were in there on a daily basis at the Nest?
Maybe 30.
Yeah, and they would squeeze into that spot, which we couldn't do if COVID, because it's not open right now because of that. But he also, tell us about the student lounge. He poured into the student lounge as well to make sure the students had that experience.
Yes, the student lounge has TVs and couches and pool tables.
Pool tables. He was big on getting pool tables. Yeah. He got them recovered. Did he not get a couple of them recovered?
Yes.
I mean, and now, before he passed, all of that was renovated, and we got tables in there, microwaves and everything. So the whole student experience, which is what he was so big on, is having students walk in and have a place where they bonded.
And that was his last title, Director of Student Experience.
Yep. Director
and it really fit him because that's what he was all about.
He was
the student experience.
All about student experience. So before we let you go, Rayah, tell me again how he impacted you, and what do you want students to remember about Julian?
I think the most important thing is how passionate he was about students' day-to-day life, and that they just be successful and the HBCU life.
That was his big. And Miss Claudette?
Well, I mean, let me try to narrow that down. First, I see that hat.
He gave me this hat.
Oh my goodness.
He gave me this hat.
Every day he wore that, unless he was dressed up. Now, you know he knew how to dress up.
He knew how to dress up.
He would have on a formal hat.
Yeah.
But this is the hat
he gave me the
that
hat.
he wore every day.
And I thought it would be perfect.
In fact, that's one of the elements that when we wanted T-shirts, you know, he designed them. Our connection with the vendor that we get our T-shirts from was all established by.
And he would say, "Vaughn, just let me know what kind of shirt you want."
Yes.
And we argued with him about long sleeves versus short sleeves and V-neck and women's fitted shirts versus a man's shirt for a woman to put on. So we had those friendly banters back and forth, but it was all with love and kindness and
for sure.
Just him wanting to have the HBCU experience. So he gave me this hat, and
Wonderful.
When I pulled it out this morning, I said, "Oh my goodness, that's the hat that Julian gave me when I first started."
All right,
I remember this, so I will cherish this hat.
That's phenomenal.
And just this parting words that you may have.
You know what thing, and you know, I'm sure there are a lot of people who have a lot of stories and a lot of interaction with Julian because he was everywhere and all over the place. And when in a good way, he did not. If I was at work beyond 5 o'clock, at 6, Miss Claudette, when are you leaving? Who's gonna walk you to the car? He never, although he was a servant.
He was a gentleman.
He was a gentleman. He was. And what he did for the band, for food service, you know, for anything that he touched on the campus, he did it with love. He did it with the spirit of a servant. He did it that others might be better. Yep. He even worked in the community with the drum. I can't think of the River City Drum Corps. So he's touched so many lives, and he's not even from Louisville. Right. Originally from Detroit, but he came to school here in Kentucky. But people will always remember him in terms of his capabilities as a percussionist, his teaching others, and always being there. I just cannot think of a time when a student called. In fact, here's probably one of the highest compliments when Julian passed. One of the students said to me, she said, "I would get so mad at Mr. Julian." And because he would always correct us and always trying, and I would get mad and bump heads with him. And in the next step, he'd be going to the pantry getting me some food. I said that's because he was professional, number one. Number two, he cared more about your needs than he cared about you being angry with him. Right. And he wanted to teach you things. He would often say, "Oh, my mother, no, I got to do this because my mother taught me." And so he carried that, the spirit of his family, the spirit of love, wherever he went. And so there are many, many people on campus. I'm just a minute representation of people that he loved, that he cared for, that he did for. And he really was one who gave to so many. That is so true. He really was.
Well, with that, we hope you all have gotten a little window into who Julian Sam was. He was a wonderful comrade, friend, and brother.
Yes, he was.
To Simmons College of Kentucky, and his legacy will always be felt at Simmons College of Kentucky through the scholarship that we plan to announce and give in his honor for a band student, through walking through the hallways at Axton, at A&L, and when we see those precious band uniforms, we will always remember our brother Julian Sam. So thank you for joining me on this special edition of Simmons College of Kentucky's Falcon Focus. Tune in next time as we talk to you about our Department of Career Services, some of the new people who have been on campus who have joined the Simmons College of Kentucky family. Thank you again for joining this week's edition of Falcon Focus.
The music department at Simmons College now offers a gospel track for its music performance degree. Our Department of Music exists to develop musical knowledge and skill. Students become beneficiaries of program features and faculty that distinguish music as both an academic and artistic discipline. Program options include brass and woodwind instruments, as well as guitar, bass, strings, piano, percussion, and voice. Your gifts will be encouraged and developed by a staff of experienced performing musicians and by the warm support of your peers. You will have frequent opportunities to perform, including vocal ensemble, gospel choir, jazz ensemble, marching band, and other ensembles, both on and off campus. Your music program can go no higher than those who lead it. Now is your time to build a strong music ministry from within. Help support passion already in your community. Help develop gifts already in your congregation. You might have the next James Cleveland in your church and don't know it. The heritage of artistic dignity found at historic Black colleges and universities. The tradition of Black excellence in gospel music. The calling to use your gift to turn hearts. Your journey toward obtaining a bachelor's degree in music starts now. Simmons College of Kentucky. Apply today. Become a part of the legacy.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. We continue to talk about the legacy that Julian Sam, our dearly departed band director and food services manager, left on the college. With me today is one of our students whose life Julian impacted significantly. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
This is Jada Smith. She's a senior at Simmons College. And she's going to tell us about what Julian meant to her.
Well, Mr. Sam was like really my mentor and a father figure. When I was growing up, I really didn't have both of my parents, and Mr. Sam saw that. I met him when I was 13, and he was just looking at me, and he was like, it's just something about you. And like he said, every time he'd be like, the first time I met you, I just raised my voice just a tad bit, and you just started crying your eyes out. And I was like, well, you know, I don't have this, that, and the third. And then ever since then, we've been stuck to each other at the hip. Like.
So where were you at 13 when he met you?
At 13, I was in the River City Drum Corps.
Okay. Okay.
And I just started playing an instrument, and he actually gave me my confidence to play my drum. Like, I was always nervous. I said, I don't have rhythm, I can't dance. He was like, don't say you can't, because you can always be taught. So he taught me, and he always told me and my friends, the friends I was on the bass drum line with, we were the baddest bass drum line he ever seen. He said one thing about us is we could play, and I heard was done. So.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Tell us some of the other memories, or what you watched, how you watched him impact the other members of the band.
It's a lot of people really have to grow on Mr. Sam. Like David's like, he's different. Like, you know, he always has your best interest, but like sometimes you feel like now you just poking the barrier, you just stepping the boundaries. But once you overstep your boundaries, but once you realize like that's just Mr. Sam and he really only has the best interest for you and your future, it's like everybody just gravitated towards him, and a lot of people took his passing really hard. Like a lot of people I didn't think was close to him, he really did a lot for in the back burner, because even if you didn't like him, he still was going to do his best to make sure you was taken care of.
That is true. He was very passionate about this HBCU and what it meant in all HBCUs, and pushed really hard for Simmons to step up to what HBCUs could really be. What do you think his lasting legacy will be here at Simmons College?
It's definitely between the band and student experience. He always wanted us to have the best experience. Like our last conversation we talked about, he said, I want you to be on Rayah Court or an SGA, and I want you to keep pushing and keep going and going and going, because you are the student. You guys make up the school. You guys, you will give the school the face that it needs, and you guys yourself are everything that you need in your student experience. So he made sure that we talked about that besides me becoming a senior.
I know he would be very proud. So what do you do to pass that on to students now that Mr. Sam is no longer with us?
Well, I'm active in the SGA, and then I try to stay active in pretty much everything, because I know that, like the food services, when it comes to food, I try to make sure everybody knows about the food, about any events going on campus that's deciphered between SGA and Rayah Court. I try to make sure everybody knows about it. Everybody's excited to go into it. This semester we had Spirit Week, and we had a really, really good turnout, and I know he'd be very proud. So I thought it would be great that we end the week honoring him with our balloon release. And just pretty much, I just go to school, I keep making sure that student experience is going well, and I just get the word out and try to make sure I keep in contact with my classmates to make sure, like, this is what you want. If this is what you want, we're going to strive to get it. If not, we're going to do something very close. So that's what I pretty much do.
I know he'd be very proud. I know he's proud of what he put in place here and what the students are taking forward with him. So thank you very much.
No problem.